War I. The story of the Great War, 1914 to 1918. World War I, also known as the Great War, was one of the deadliest and most transformative conflicts in human history. It lasted from 1914 to 1918 and involved many of the world's major powers. The war changed political borders, destroyed empires, and reshaped international relations in ways that still affect the modern world. Background and causes of the war. Before 1914, Europe was experiencing rapid industrial growth, military expansion, and intense competition between powerful nations. Several long-term factors contributed to the outbreak of World War I. One major cause was militarism. European nations invested heavily in their armed forces, believing that military strength was the key to national security and power. Germany and Britain in particular competed in a naval arms race, while other countries expanded their armies. Another important factor was alliances. By the early 20th century, Europe was divided into two major alliance systems. The Triple Alliance included Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Italy. The Triple Entente consisted of France, Britain, and Russia. These alliances were meant to provide security, but they also meant that a conflict involving one country could quickly spread to others. Nationalism also played a powerful role. Many ethnic groups wanted independence or greater influence, especially in the Balkans. Serbia supported Slavic nationalism and opposed the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which ruled over many Slavic peoples. Finally, imperialism increased tensions as European powers competed for colonies and global influence, particularly in Africa and Asia. The spark, assassination in Sarajevo. The immediate cause of World War I occurred on June 28, 1914, in the city of Sarajevo. Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, and his wife Sophie were assassinated by Gavrilo Princip, a Bosnian Serb nationalist. Austria-Hungary blamed Serbia for the assassination and issued an ultimatum with strict demands. When Serbia did not fully accept the ultimatum, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia on July 28, 1914. The war begins and spreads. Due to alliance obligations, the conflict rapidly expanded. Russia mobilized to defend Serbia. Germany, an ally of Austria-Hungary, declared war on Russia and then on France. Germany invaded Belgium to reach France quickly, which led Britain to declare war on Germany. By August 1914, most of Europe was involved in a full-scale war, trench warfare and new weapons. On the Western Front, stretching across France and Belgium, the war turned into a brutal stalemate. Both sides dug extensive trench systems, leading to trench warfare. Soldiers lived in terrible conditions, facing mud, disease, and constant danger. New and deadly weapons were introduced, including machine guns, artillery, poison gas, tanks, and submarines, U-boats. These technologies made attacks extremely costly and resulted in massive casualties for very little territorial gain. Famous battles such as the Battle of the Somme and Verdun caused millions of deaths and injuries, symbolizing the horrors of industrial warfare. The Eastern Front and other theaters. On the Eastern Front, fighting was more fluid than in the West. Germany and Austria-Hungary fought against Russia. In 1917, internal unrest and revolution forced Russia to withdraw from the war after the Bolshevik Revolution. The war also spread beyond Europe. Battles occurred in the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. The Ottoman Empire joined the Central Powers, fighting against Britain and its allies in regions such as Gallipoli and the Arab Peninsula. The United States enters the war. At first, the United States remained neutral. However, several factors pushed the U.S. toward war. German submarine attacks on civilian ships, including the sinking of the Lusitania in 1915, angered the American public. Another key factor was the Zimmermann Telegram, in which Germany proposed a military alliance with Mexico against the United States. In April 1917, the United States officially entered the war on the side of the Allies. American troops and resources provided a major boost, tipping the balance against the Central Powers. The end of the war. By 1918, Germany launched a final offensive on the Western Front, but failed. With fresh American forces arriving and the Allies pushing forward, the Central Powers began to collapse. On November 11, 1918, Germany signed an armistice, officially ending the fighting. The war had caused approximately 16 to 20 million deaths, including soldiers and civilians. Aftermath and consequences. In 1919, world leaders met at the Paris Peace Conference to decide the future of Europe. The most important agreement was the Treaty of Versailles, which placed full blame for the war on Germany. Germany lost territory, was forced to reduce its military, and had to pay heavy reparations. The war led to the collapse of major empires, including the German, Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman, and Russian empires. New nations were created, but many borders were unstable, leading to future conflicts. The harsh conditions imposed on Germany, combined with political instability, helped create the conditions that eventually led to World War II. Conclusion: World War I was not just a military conflict, it was a turning point in world history. It changed how wars were fought, altered global power structures, and left deep political and social scars. Understanding the causes and consequences of World War I helps explain many of the challenges the world faced in the 20th century and beyond.